Good morning, my students, Prep 3. I am Mr. Ahmed Nabil, an English teacher, and I'm going to be with you in online sessions through distance learning. Today, inshallah, I'm going to introduce for you poetry. Okay, and in this session, inshallah, you are going to learn our poem today, which is The Rainbow by William Wordsworth. But before we know about our poem today, you are going to know some information and details about poetry to revise, okay, what you have learned before about poetry. You are going to know what is meant by poetry, and as we know that a poem is consists of blocks of lines called stanza, and what is meant by stanza. Also, you are going to know what are the elements of poetry, like rhythm, metaphor, figures of speech, and so on, rhyme. Also, you are going to know what are the figures of speech, like personification, metaphor, simile, what's meant by alliteration, assonance, consonants. Also, you are going to know what are the types of our traditional poems, like ballad, sonnet, and so on. Then you are going to move to our poem today, which is The Rainbow by William Wordsworth. Okay, here in this poem, the poet shows us his love to nature, how nature affects his life, and when he grew up, his love to nature is grow up also, and the colors of the rainbow in the sky affects his life and show his love to the nature. Also, in this poem, there is a philosophy here that the poet talks about, that the child is the father of the man. Again, here is a philosophy in this poem that the child is the father of the man. Okay? Then you are going to move to a paraphrase, okay, of this poem and commentary. And please take care of the commentary and figures of speech and paraphrase. It's very important to memorize the paraphrase. But before we know all these information and details about poetry and our poem today, which is called The Rainbow by William Wordsworth, let's get ready for our dictation today. Number 1, laugh. Number 2, laugher. Number 3, comedy. Number 4, nervous. Number 5, biography. Number 6, autobiography. Number 7, handwriting. Number 8, messy. Number 9, organized. Number 10, science. Let's now move to explain our poem today, which is called Rainbow by William Wordsworth.
Use poetry for you, but we will revise some things important about poetry. First of all, we have to revise what is poetry. It is the oldest form of literature. It's like music because it creates beautiful sounds with words when expressing ideas and feelings. A poem is made up of blocks of lines called stanza. Okay? A poem is made up of blocks of lines called stanza. So what is a stanza? A stanza is one of the divisions of a poem, composed of 2 or more lines, usually characterized by a common pattern of meter or rhyme and the number of lines. Every poem is divided into stanzas. Stanza consists of 2 or more lines, and it usually covers one item or idea. Elements of poetry. There are several elements which make up a good poem. In brief, they are described below. What are these elements? Rhythm. Rhythm is the music made by the statements of the poem, which include the syllables in the lines. The best method of understanding this is to read the poem aloud. Meter. This is the basic structural make-up of the poem. Do the syllables match with each other? Every line in the poem must adhere or cope with this structure. Rhyme. The rhyme is a poem. A poem may or may not have a rhyme. When you write poetry that has a rhyme, it means that the last words of the lines match with each other in some form. For example, I am busy, said the sea. I am busy, think of me. Okay? Imagery. Most figures of speech cast up in your mind. These pictures created are called images. Figurative language. Number one, simile. Comparison. So first of all, we here have elements of poetry, rhythm, meter, rhyme, imagery, and figurative language. Figurative language also are divided into simile, comparison of one thing to another using like or as. For example, I wandered lonely as a cloud. Love is like a fire. Personification. To regard or personifies a thing or animal as a person. As a person. For example, I am busy, said the sea. The poet here personifies the sea and makes it talk. Metaphor. The use of words to indicate something different from the literal meaning. A figure of speech that implies comparison between two unlike entities. All the world is a stage. Day's eye, sweet bird of life. Theme. Theme, this is what the poem is all about. The theme of the poem is the central idea that the poet wants to convey. It can be a story or a thought or a description of something or someone. Anything, which is what the poem is all about. After that, we will know techniques or musical devices. Alliteration is a repetition of the first consonant sounds at the beginning of words. Again, alliteration is the repetition of the first consonant sounds at the beginning of words. With the wonderful water. With wonderful water. The W is repeated 3 times, so here we have an alliteration. I am busy, said the sea. S, said, and S,